the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania went 0 for 2 in home games in Wild Card Weekend. And the Philadelphia Eagles did, in fact, let go their offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, at the end of the day. Kurt, what was wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles offense that you saw, that you sense? Yeah. You have the floor.
I mean, I would just say that I understand the narrative around there has been that it's a simplistic type of pass game. And that is true. No question about it. But I will also say that has been the majority of their pass game for a couple of years now, through different coordinators. It hasn't changed a great deal. And so it's not as if they were really complex at one point and all of a sudden they got simple this year. And so we got to fire the OC. They've been simple for years, good, bad, or indifferent. They've had great success with the simplicity of that offense because they've been built around, hey, we're going to run the football. And when you take that away, we don't have to be complex on the outside because we've got the weapons and we can go and win one-on-one and we can have success. And so that's how they were built coming into the year. And the bottom line is they didn't execute and play very well this year. And it started up front. They didn't run the football well. They didn't have success. They had injuries up front. And then, there wasn't a huge adjustment on the outside. And, it leaves all the questions of why did they not make adjustments? Could they have made adjustments? I even broke down, the final drive this past weekend. There were guys open on most of the plays. I didn't like the final play call, but the rest of the plays, there were guys open. So even if it's a simple concept, there can be guys open, and it can be a good concept to attack any coverage. So you don't always have to be complex. You love to see a little more complexity and creativity that maybe creates some more easy opportunities for your guys. But again, this is not something to me that's different. Like all of a sudden we got Kevin Patullo in there and, it's changed. And now, they dumbed down everything from where they were when they won a championship a year ago. It's not that. And you have to believe that a big part of these changes when you bring in a new coordinator is like, hey, we're not changing much. Like, don't come in and change everything. We just won a championship. Like, we've been in 2 Super Bowls in the last however many, 4 or 5 years. We're not going to change a lot. And so that makes sense why it's been the same through the different coordinators, with sure, a little different feel with Kellen last year and some other guys, but primarily the same sort of stuff. And so I just think it's a tough situation for a first-time play caller that, he gets put in there. They're going to run primarily the same offense. They didn't execute as well. He might not have, made great adjustments, but he's in his first year of calling plays, and you have to expect, things to be a little bit tougher there. And I think it's just unfortunate because, we know they won the Super Bowl a year ago, and all of a sudden you put in a first-time play caller. Was that the right decision with the talent and the team and what you're trying to accomplish at this particular point? I think is probably the bigger question. Than some of that other stuff.
Well, I think the biggest question involves the quarterback, Kurt, which is kind of crazy because you're talking about somebody and you would know how difficult it is to come up with your best game in the Super Bowl because you did it 3 times. I guess you made it look easy, but you did it 3 times, and Jalen Hurts has done it twice, and then the other years he looks lost, like he's not. He's new. And I'm wondering if anything has to do, if that has to do with either his abilities, which is the red hot rumor and, subtext of all the criticisms of him, or is it, take a look at this board we put together. This is absurd.
That is absurd.
Kurt, look at Shane Steichen's the only
That's crazy.
time in 2021, 2022, the only offensive coordinator that Hurts has had in back-to-back years, going back to college, probably back to high school, Kurt.
That is nuts. And again, I can understand how that can affect. I always feel like when you get into a new system, it takes about a year to get comfortable with it. But back to what I was saying is, I don't believe this system is a new system. I don't think every year they're changing the way they call plays. And the concepts, as I said, were very similar. So I look at that a little bit differently. Of course, the guy calling plays and how he sees the game and how you're connected to him, of course, that can be a huge thing going from one guy to the next, going from a veteran guy to a young guy at calling plays. That can surely be it. But I know there's a lot of questions about what part of this does Jalen fit into in terms of what he wants to do and what he likes to do. I've said, I don't think, he's the greatest processor in terms of getting from 1 to 2 to 3 and working through his progressions quickly. But he's also not rare in the league in terms of not everybody is a great processor. When he knows where he wants to go with the football, he's a tremendous thrower of the football. And we've seen that, and it's why he's been so good in those big moments. To say, just knowing Jalen like I do and what you're talking about with all these different systems and different guys, to tell me that they couldn't get more creative with their formations and motions, even if they were going to run some of the same concepts that they're running, which, again, these concepts are concepts that everybody around the league runs. So it's not like they're terrible concepts. To get more creative with some of those different things, you're going to tell me that Jalen Hurts couldn't call those plays and give him a wristband like you see. I mean, whatever. I mean, that to me seems like the most ludicrous part of it is that Jalen couldn't handle more on his plate. It may not be his favorite thing when you may be asking him to do a little bit more in terms of seeing things or reading coverage and what have you. But I just think that's a little bit crazy to say that, their simplicity of what they're doing is all because of Jalen Hurts. So I think it's a combination of a whole bunch of different things, including we've had success with this. We're going to stick with this. We're not going to make a bunch of wholesale changes because we have the roster, we have the talent. Let's do this. And then when it didn't work, try to get out of that when you've been doing those things for years or when you have a first-time play caller. I think it's going to always be a lot more difficult than if it's things that you've been doing or change-ups that you already have in the playbook.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.